guitar today. This is a Fender Squier SE Stratocaster, built in 2000. I picked this one up recently off Marketplace for not very much money. This particular model of guitar, from what I understand, are the really cheap ones that would have came in sort of bundle packs back in the day. So with an amp and a guitar lead and picks and everything to sort of get you going. Generally purchased for, you know, as a first electric guitar for somebody, because you kind of just buy it and everything's in the box. And what generally happens, and what I believe this one suffered from, is they get played for a bit, then they get pushed under a bed or in a garage or in a wardrobe and forgotten about. And as you can see, I think this one has suffered that fate. So you can sort of see on the pickguard the 25, 26 years of dust. There's sort of lots of dust in there, but it doesn't really show up on the camera. Quite dusty. On the back, you can sort of see there in the reflection of the light, it's developed an interesting sort of mouldy pattern. I'm not sure if that's going to actually come out, to be honest, but we'll see. It has a first-rate restring, look at that. I need to find the guy who did that. I want that on all of my guitars. Now, interestingly, these, I thought when I went to pick this up that this would have had the thinner body like the Bullet, but it actually has what looks to be a full thickness body, so that's a nice score. The pickguard has developed a weird sort of bubble thing around the neck pickup, so we'll probably give this a new pickguard. I reckon you'll keep the off-colour knobs, go with a white pickguard. Potentially we might put some like vintage Fender sort of twisted saddles on it. Not sure yet. I'll have to see if they would fit actually. The neck's really nice. It was actually played. I'm doing whoever owned this before me a disservice, but the neck's actually developed a really nice semi sort of sheen where the rest of the neck seems almost satin. And it's a thicker neck, so it's on its way to more like a 50s profile, which I like. Lovely thick slab of rosewood there. Frets definitely need a clean, so I'll show you how I would clean the frets up. We'll oil the fretboard, so feed it with a bit of lemon oil and bring that back so it'll look nice and dark. What else? There's the serial there. The serial, I believe, it looks like a sticker that would have been there because there's some sticker residue. And then we'll clean up the pots, so because they're a little bit scratchy. Clean up the input jack, because again that's a little bit scratchy. Clean the switch. We'll hopefully put a new, I'm sure I've got a spare tip switch, so we'll get a tip switch. Might fit it, might not. And then we'll restring it, get it back to clean condition, and run it through a couple of amps. So probably run it through a Fender and a Marshall, so some cleans and some dirties, and see what these pickups sound like. Yeah, I think the good thing with these guitars, I'd recommend if you see these sorts of things come up cheap, buy them. I think they're great modding platforms. I think it's important for guitarists, especially young guitarists, to learn how to fix guitars, how to service their own guitars. You know, you get a scratchy pot, and I've known people think, oh well, I have to change the pot, but you know, a little bit of contact cleaner in there can fix it. All these little tips and tricks you learn over the years save you a fortune from taking all of your guitars to luthiers. And again, it's, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to work on your own guitar. I know a lot of people don't like to touch them, but I'm a big believer in, you know, getting the grips and getting into the nitty-gritty with your guitar. Very interested to see what's under the guard and what route is in there. So without me whittering on any further, I think I've spoken way too long. Let's strip this thing down and get this process underway. Let's go. Okay guys, here we are. Okay, ready to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is to remove the strings, and I think for the purposes of this particular project we'll probably remove the neck as well, because I think it'll be easier to clean and probably easier to photograph as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's loosen off the strings. Just a bit. See that tuner there is missing a screw, so as I've removed that, it's got a bit of a turn, so we'll either have to see if the screw's broken or if we simply have to tighten it when we put the new string in. What we'll do is remove the back plate. Okay, there we can sort of see the springs are pretty clean condition. We've got the small block there, which is standard for this sort of guitar. You can see it's released a hell of a lot more dirt and stuff, but that's cool. Okay, now slip the strings, feed them through the back. He always is always the one that gets stuck in there. Just get a skewer, poke that through, and we are good. Up the other end, so we're just gonna, that string is pretty wedged in there. That's gonna cause any issues if the nut is cut too deep, which it looks pretty deep, but we will see. I think what might have happened there is these strings might be too thick for the nut. So although it looks like they're too deep, I think what's happening is they're just sort of caught in the nut. Okay. Then let's remove the neck. Pretty tight neck screws there, which tells me this neck has never been removed before. Nothing really, no marks or anything, no dates, but that's okay. And again, inside of the neck pocket, nothing of note. So I think, yeah, nothing on there. Okay, next step is to clean up the neck. Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to do is illustrate how I would go about polishing or cleaning up these frets. A lot of people do this by taping up the fretboard and using wire wool, or using these little fret cover. So basically, you can polish without touching the fretboard. However, this is a product that a friend of mine put me onto, and it's called Miracle All-Purpose Polishing Cloth. It's impregnated with coconut oil apparently, and it looks like this. So you can actually buy this stuff on Amazon, and the instructions basically say wipe the metal surface and then wipe it with a clean cloth, and what you should see is it'll take the tarnish off and all of the dirt will go onto this. I tend to do one wipe on and then flip it over and do another wipe and then clean, so you get a double clean. So what I'll do is I'll zoom into the fret. We'll do the 5th fret, this guy here, let's bring that a bit more into there. Just take the miracle cloth, whoop, and it smells really nice, by the way. Just rub the fret like this. You can instantly see, oh, let me just get that in the camera there, the dirt that comes off that fret. And I tend to do a double rub on that. Then piece of kitchen towel. Take that off. Do that. You bring all that off, and now I think you can see the difference compared to that fret there. So without having to tape up, what we've done there is we've brought a really nice, shiny, smooth surface to the fret. And when you actually play that, when you run a string across and play it, it really, you know, it aids sort of bending and things like that. So what we'll do is we'll run up and do the whole neck. So we'll just do this. We'll work back to the 4th fret, same process. Rub it once, rub it twice, wipe it. Instantly see the difference. And then, yeah, you can feel that one there is pretty grimy. So we just do this, flip it over. Yeah, okay. That's the first 5 frets done. And it's instant results. See the difference in the frets there compared to those old dirty ones. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, complete the rest of the neck. And now we've finished that process. See, those frets are nice and shiny now. They've got their sheen back. I guarantee that when we put strings on and play the guitar, that will feel really smooth. Okay, what I want to quickly do here, I've noticed a couple of the screws in the tuners are a little bit too far out, so I'm just going to tighten these, not too tight, but just screw those down so it gives the tuner a bit more resistance. And the last thing you want is one of those screws coming out. So we need to add a screw to this guy, but yeah, they just feel a bit tighter now and a bit more like they'll actually be tuning the guitar. So we've got our frets all nice and polished. Very simple process. We've also had a little go at the tuning peg heads as well, so they feel nice and clean when you're actually going to be tuning the guitar up. The next thing we'll do is to condition the fretboard by using lemon oil. Now I use Dunlop 65. I've somehow managed to end up with tons of bottles of this stuff, I think just in guitar cases and things like that. People just sort of leave it behind. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply this. This actually comes with an applicator on the top. We're going to apply this across the rosewood. We're going to let that sort of sink in a little bit, and then we're going to sort of massage it in with a microfiber cloth. Once that's absorbed, and I do find that lemon oil can then, you know, little bits rise to the top, it almost sort of bleeds a little bit, but you just keep wiping it and wiping it and wiping it, and obviously the more you play the guitar, the more your hands are gonna, you know, gonna move that lemon oil around, and then it'll all just sort of settle. So let's do this. I think what we'll do is we'll maybe do half of the neck just to show you the difference that lemon oil makes to the neck, and then we'll obviously finish off the rest of the neck. So here we go. Give the bottle a little squeeze. Just rub on there. again, I tend to give that a little run with the fingers like that. A bit on the back there, just to and I think instantly you can see the difference that that will make. Now, when the lemon oil dries, it won't be shiny like that, but you can see what it's doing is it's actually conditioning that rosewood and bringing some of the life back to the wood. And you can see the difference there. Just leave that for a moment to sink in. And once that's, you can sort of tell the moment when it's kind of sunk into the wood, then we'll give it a buff and a bit of a clean. Yeah, so you can see the difference that has made there. It looks really nice piece of rosewood. What we're going to do now is start to work this lemon oil into the fretboard. We've left it there for a minute or two. Just work this in. So obviously, as you can see, it doesn't leave that shiny final surface, but what it does do is it does make the fretboard look a lot healthier. It conditions the wood really nicely as well. So you can sort of see it's taken on some of that darker colour. Yeah, that's came out really good. Lovely clean frets, lovely clean rosewood. Yeah, that's a good job. Okay, now the fun bit. What's underneath this guard? Now, as we can see, we have a bit of a weird lump happening there. So that could be a wire that's sort of trapped, or it could just naturally be the way it's been stored. The pickguard's warped. But let's have a look. So we're just going to take these screws out. Moment of truth. Okay. Yeah, okay, so as you can see there, I'll just zoom in a bit. What we have is three sort of large humbucker size routes. That's kind of like small, medium and large, which is interesting. Three cheap pickups, as I expected, the cheap plastic switch and the tiny little pots. So nothing unexpected under there, although this is interesting. I'll just flip this around. And I think this explains why the pickguard has bubbled. The actual layers of the pickguard have started to split, and I can honestly say that's the first time I've ever seen that. That is very cool. Yeah, so definitely in line for a new pickguard on this one. But what we'll do is we'll unscrew all the bits, so all the electrics fall into the guitar. We'll decide what new pickguard we're going to put on the guitar, and we'll get the body all cleaned up. Then we'll clean the pots. So we'll get a bit of contact spray in there, clean the switch, and see if they all, like before we put the guitar together, check that it's all working and it's not scratchy anymore. And then we can probably get a bit of magic cloth on these metal bits. I don't think there's any need to change any of this. Given the price of the guitar, you could modify and put Fender saddles on it and things like that. I'd just have to check the width of those, but these will definitely serve their purpose. If I was going to go to a full fully modded, I would get, you know, CTS pots. I'd probably get some custom shop pickups and a proper Fender trim, but I guarantee the guitar will play nicely as it is. For me at the moment, it's just kind of the aesthetics of the thing aren't that great with the colour. So yeah, let's get these bits off the guitar and we move on to the next step. I'd originally decided to do this kind of like a 50 Strat, but as I was working through my box of parts, I sort of landed more on this. It's kind of Billy Corgan-esque Strat, single ply white guard. I don't know if the Billy Corgan signature has a single ply white guard, but single, like ice white, polar white, whatever you want to call it, with black parts on a black body with a rosewood neck. I think it looked really cool. So we're going to swap all the bits into this guard. Okay, first job, let's remove these knobs and we'll keep them. They've got a really nice colour, so I think, you know, if you're doing any sort of 50s Stratocaster type style guitars, you know, they've naturally aged and they'll work perfectly, so we'll keep those. We will. Ooh. There's that. Then we will do the switch. Very small screws on that switch. Usually a lot bigger, but obviously being a Squier, they must use whatever they have. And then, lastly, these pickups. My biggest tip here is there will either be a spring or a rubber sort of spacer that is on the other side of this screw. Don't lose them, because it's the biggest pain when you're changing pickups and you lose that screw, because then the pickup will flop around inside of the guitar. And that's definitely what we don't want. Right, that is amazing. That is the first time I've ever seen a pickguard do that. I'm going to keep that. Excellent. Okay, here are the springs. As I said, don't lose those guys. They're not expensive, but it just slows down when you want to do a quick project like this. Make sure you've got them like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to, I think we'll probably give these pots a little bit of a spray whilst they're exposed. We will then see if these pickup covers will come off. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so they come straight off. We'll swap the black covers onto these, and then we'll screw the pickguard back together. But I think whilst we've got the guitar like this, this is your opportunity to sort of clean up the top without the pickguard being in the way. So we'll do a bit of cleaning first on the top. Put the electronics back together, screw that all down, flip the guitar over, do the back, and then we're ready to put the guitar back together and see how it sounds. Okay, so before we clean the top of the guitar and do all the other work, we're just going to squirt a little bit of contact cleaner into the pots, so that little gap there. We're going to squirt some contact cleaner into that. This is the one we're going to use, so it's contact and circuit board cleaner. And then once we've squirted it inside of the pot, we're then going to turn the pot left and right fully. And what that's hopefully going to do is work out any grit or grime that's got inside of the mechanism, and that will remove or reduce any scratchiness. So, give it a good shake. Couple of squirts, and just turn the pot left and right like that. That should work out any issues. next. We might as well whilst we're here. Give that guy I'm going to use this Gibson guitar pump polish. You know, there's 100 different brands that make this stuff. I just happen to have one of these. This is kind of more for nitro finishes, but I think it kind of does the job. You know, it should get the gunk off, so you can probably see if we get up close there that all that horrible sort of mouldy stuff. Just give that a bit of a spray there. A cloth and see if the stuff will actually come off. Obviously under the guard isn't a huge thing because it's going to be hidden. See, we're getting a sheen back there. So that mouldy sort of residue stuff is coming off really easily. I'm hesitant to remove the saddles. Not really sure it's going to help at all, but we might actually but that body's come up really nicely, really clean. Okay, what we'll probably do now the saddles. I think we might take the saddles off and clean underneath. Hadn't intended to, but why not? Yeah, just to illustrate how these are coming off. Turn them anti-clockwise. And eventually the screw will release the saddle. And again, same as the pickups, don't lose the spring because it's just annoying. There you go. Quickly get that spring back in and screw it back onto the saddle. And then what I tend to do is line the saddles up in the order of what they are. So this is the low E, this is the A, and we'll just continue that way. So when we put them back in the guitar, we're putting the correct saddle back in the right spot. Okay, I'll continue taking the rest of these saddles off. And we'll give underneath the saddle, see all that gunk under there, we'll give it a proper clean. And then we'll start and put this guitar back together. Okay, so we've got the saddles off the guitar now. Now, interestingly, if you look at this screw versus these two, this one looks like it's been chewed, and I would imagine that was probably done in the factory. So we'll zoom in a tiny bit so you can see that. You see this guy here. But anyways, here's what it is. So we'll just start by just a general sort of wipe. Moisture to help it along. So I think that's looking a hell of a lot nicer there. Also do this, we will go back to our magic cloth. So I don't think we're going to get that super shiny, but it's way better than it was. Give that a tighten. Okay. So now we've got the kind of general dirt off the guitar. Once we put the guitar back together, we'll give it then, you know, a proper wipe. But the top now, way shinier. I'll just zoom out. Oop, wrong way. Much shinier. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now we'll put the saddles back on. So again, reverse process. Oops. Screw goes through the hole, then the spring. Don't lose the spring. And then get a bit of a bite on the screw. Do that for the rest of them. Now obviously the guitar is now, once the saddles go back on the guitar, it's not going to be intonated anymore, so that'll be a process we'll do once the guitar's restrung. But for the purposes of what we're doing right now, we'll just get those saddles back on. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll jump on to the next thing. Saddles back on the guitar now. So what we'll do is, I'm going to apply, we're going to transfer the parts inside of the guitar onto this pickguard, then screw the pickguard to the guitar, and as I thought, I'll probably have to screw some different holes, but again, I wouldn't stress too much on it. It's a Squier, so you know, you're not screwing into a custom shop body or anything like that, so I wouldn't be afraid to do that. Right, let's start and put this thing back together. Okay, so the next step is we're going to get the pickup covers swapped on this. Now some Squiers, the pickup is actually sort of fused together, so you can't remove the cover, but luckily on this one we can. So we just slide those guys off, and then we just slide the new ones on like that, and now they are ready to be screwed back into the pickguard. But I think what we'll do is start off with this stuff, the pots and the switch, because as we're lifting the guard to screw the pickups on, these kind of flop around a little bit, and we really want to try and avoid disturbing any of that wiring. It's all fixable, but it's just one job that you don't have to do when you're just doing these simple sort of cleanups. So yeah, what we'll do, turn the guitar this way. Screw ready, and we'll start it down here. Get that on and tighten it like that. That's number one. And then we just get the switch in position. Once you get one screw in, that sort of aligns the second one. And now the fun part is, if you followed my instructions, you didn't lose your springs. I will admit, I lost one, but I've got some spares, so that's okay. Now what we do is we run the screw through there. Spring goes on, and then we align the pickup up, and try and get a bite on that. First side in, similarly here, through there. This can be fiddly, but if you're patient, enough of a bite on that pickup there, on the screw. And the last screw, so screw through. Then spring. There. We can drop that into the guitar now, and we'll just tighten all the screws until they're flush with the body. Time to get the neck back on. Okay, so let's give the back a clean. Just clean that just to move all of the crap and the dirt. Okay, so the next step, we're going to put the neck back on the body. Then we'll completely screw down the pickguard, because obviously different pickguard, there might be some movement between the neck and the pickguard, so we just want to sort of balance that. And then I think we're ready to string it up and play it. So we'll flip the guitar over. I didn't actually do this on camera, but I did actually polish up the neck plate as well. That came out really nice. Just get it to a point where it's about to bite through the other side. Like that. And then when we're doing this process, I like to kind of go diagonally, so do one corner, then the diagonal opposite corner. I don't know if there's any reason or science behind that, but I think it, I don't know, maybe it distributes the connection between the two corners. I don't know, you tell me. Okay, get that nice and tight. Nice and tight like that. Grab the other two screws. Okay. Put this guy back over. Then we can see where our pickguard lies. Okay, so obviously pickguard isn't an exact fit. You can sort of see a tiny gap down in that bottom corner there, but that's okay. Okay, I'm just using the bits that I had around to achieve the result. So next is, now we've got the guitar together, next on the guitar, what we now need to do is get the pickguard screws back in, and I'm going to stick with the originals, which are a little bit rusty. Okay, now we've got the neck of the guitar. Let's get the hardware on there. So we got black knobs there to match the pickup covers. And last but not least, dip switch. Fantastic. I think that looks very cool. So now what we need to do, restring the guitar and see what this thing sounds like. Squier SE Stratocaster from 2000. I think it came out really well. Obviously, you know, everything is pretty much stock apart from the plastic bits. Haven't changed any pickups or anything like that. The pickups on these things, you know, they're okay. They do the job, you know, they amplify the string, and that's pretty much all you can ask from these pickups. There's nothing interesting, no harmonics or anything happening around the edges. It's a microphone for the string, which I suppose describes the pickup. Recommend picking these things up if you see them. They're generally quite cheap. Great guitars to mod because there's no gilt. And as you saw, I kind of went with a almost Billy Corgan look on this one, and that was because I didn't have the pickguard I didn't have the pickguard that I actually wanted, but I'm pretty pleased with that. So yeah, if you like the video, subscribe and like, and do all the YouTubey stuff that you have to do, and I'll be doing more videos like the one you saw. I'll be doing more guitar and amp sort of demos and reviews, comparing, you know, cheap and expensive guitars and things like that. Just the fun stuff that I think, you know, when I'm looking for guitars or thinking of purchasing a guitar, I tend to rely on YouTube clips. So I thought it would be a cool thing to sort of do that and, you know, help people make decisions on things that they think they're purchasing. So yeah, it's been a great fun little project. Really enjoyed it. Ended up with another guitar, which is actually what I didn't need, but there you go. I may mod this in the future. I may put some different pickups into it. I don't think I'd need to do much else. I do like vintage saddles on the bridges, but this kind of looks more like a modern Strat, so I think it actually suits the guitar. And the neck is amazing. Really nice neck on that. So thanks the guy I got this off, who had obviously played this thing to death and polished the neck up for me. So thanks again, guys, and see you next time.